7 years. That's how long the goddess Calypso offered Odysseus a deal most human beings would take without blinking. Immortality, a body that never ages, a god's life on a paradise island with a goddess who loved him. He said no. He chose a middle-aged wife he hadn't seen in 20 years, a son who wouldn't recognize his face, a kingdom in ruins, and eventually, a grave. 3,000 kilometers east, around the same era, a warrior named Arjuna stood on a different battlefield, paralyzed, not by fear of death, but by the horror of what victory would cost him. His teachers, his cousins, his own family on the other side of the arrows. And a god named Krishna gave him an answer that has guided and justified 1 billion lives since. These aren't just old stories. They are two competing operating systems for being human. One built the West, one built much of the East. And right now, without knowing it, you are running one of them. Part 2. The Two Codes. The Two Codes. The Greeks had a word for what Odysseus almost threw away, Cleos. It means glory, but a very specific kind, not quiet satisfaction, not a job well done. Cleos means being spoken of after you're dead. It's fame that outlives the body. The Greek hero's deepest fear wasn't dying, it was being forgotten. The Mahabharata offers something almost opposite, Dharma. Not glory, but right action. Duty to your role, your family, the order of things, regardless of whether anyone remembers your name. Krishna's advice to Arjuna is brutally simple. Act because it is your duty to act, and release your attachment to the outcome, to the credit, to the glory. Cleos says, be remembered. Dharma says, it was never about you. Two civilizations, roughly the same centuries, arriving at opposite answers to the same question. What makes a life worth living? Part 3. Greece, the architecture of glory. Greece, the architecture of glory. Achilles is the purest case. Homer gives him an actual choice, spoken outright. Live a long, quiet, forgettable life at home, or die young at Troy and be sung about forever. He chooses Troy. This isn't a personality flaw. It's the entire Greek value system compressed into one man. Greek culture built institutions around exactly this instinct. The Olympic Games weren't really about athletics. They were a machine for manufacturing Cleos, for turning physical excellence into permanent fame, your name carved in stone at Olympia for centuries. Greek tragedy runs on the same fuel, just inverted. It's obsessed with what happens when the hunger for glory outruns wisdom. Sophocles doesn't punish Oedipus for having no ambition. He punishes him for having exactly the confidence that Cleos demands, pushed one step too far. Even Greek philosophy inherits this. Aristotle's great-souled man, the megalopsychos, is explicitly someone who knows his own greatness and expects to be honored for it. Modesty in this framework isn't a virtue. It's a failure to correctly value yourself. This is the seed of something you already recognize. Individual achievement as the highest good. Legacy as the measure of a life. Your name, separated from your family, your tribe, your role, standing on its own, judged on its own. But Homer isn't naive about the price. There's one scene that shows exactly what Cleos costs the people who don't get to choose it. Before Hector faces Achilles outside the walls of Troy, his wife Andromache begs him not to go. She's already lost her father and her 7 brothers to this war. Her son doesn't yet know what it means that his father might not come back. She tells Hector, plainly, "You are my father, my mother, my brother, and my husband, all at once. You are everything I have left." Hector knows she's right. He even says it himself. He can see the day coming when Troy falls, when his wife is dragged off into slavery. And he goes anyway, because for Hector, shame in front of the other Trojans, the thought of being seen as a coward who hid behind the walls, outweighs even his family's survival. That's Cleos with no glamour left on it. Not the thrill of Achilles' choice, but its quieter, sadder cousin. A man who dies for his reputation, fully aware of exactly what it costs the people who love him. Part 4. India, the architecture of duty. India, the architecture of duty. Arjuna's crisis in the Bhagavad Gita is almost the mirror image of Achilles' choice. He doesn't lack the capacity for glory. He's the greatest archer alive. What breaks him is realizing that winning will destroy the very relationships Cleos assumes you're fighting for. Krishna's answer isn't, "Fight for glory anyway." It's something stranger to a Western ear. Fight because it is your Dharma, your role, your duty as a warrior born into that role. And let go of your attachment to whether you're remembered, whether you win, whether anyone ever knows your name. This is the philosophical opposite of Cleos. Not be excellent so you are remembered, but be excellent regardless of whether you are remembered. You can see this logic built into the structure of the epic itself. The Mahabharata isn't obsessed with a single glorious individual the way the Iliad is obsessed with Achilles. It's obsessed with roles: the good king, the loyal brother, the dutiful wife, the honorable teacher. And what happens when someone abandons their role for personal desire? Duryodhana's tragedy isn't a failure of duty to himself. It's a failure of Dharma to his family and kingdom. This idea didn't stay in the epic. It became the architecture of an entire civilization's family structure, caste-based social duty, and religious practice. The idea that your worth comes from fulfilling your position in a larger order, not from separating yourself from it to be remembered as an individual. And just like Homer with Hector, the Mahabharata doesn't pretend Dharma is free of cost. It gives us Bhishma. Long before Kurukshetra, Bhishma made a vow so total it reshaped his entire life. He gave up his own claim to the throne and swore off marriage and children forever, so his father could marry the woman he loved without a succession dispute. One promise, an entire personal future erased so that a family structure could hold together. Decades later, that same vow is what chains him to the battlefield at Kurukshetra, fighting on the side he privately believes is wrong against the family he loves on the other side, because his duty as the kingdom's protector outranks his personal judgment about who deserves to win. He tells Arjuna outright before the war even starts that he will fight for Duryodhana's side and that Arjuna can kill him only in a specific, humiliating way, because Bhishma has bound his entire will to duty, past the point where duty even makes sense to him anymore. That's Dharma with no glamour left on it either. Not Krishna's serene philosophy on the chariot, but its exhausted, aging cousin, a man who gave up his entire personal life for a vow and dies for a side he doesn't even believe in because the role came first. Part 5. The collision, where this plays out today. The collision. Here's why this isn't a history lesson. Every time someone chooses a high-paying job that isolates them from family over a lower-paying role that keeps them close to home, that's Cleos versus Dharma, running quietly underneath a decision that looks purely economic. Every time a culture asks, "What did you personally accomplish this year?" versus "Did you fulfill your responsibilities to your family this year?" that's the same 3,000-year-old fork in the road, still splitting people apart. Social media runs almost entirely on Cleos logic, a machine for manufacturing exactly the kind of fame Achilles chose Troy for. Except now anyone can compete for it, all the time, forever. And the exhaustion so many people feel from it isn't random. It's the oldest tension in human civilization, just wearing a phone-shaped costume. Meanwhile, the quiet epidemic of loneliness in individualist societies and the different but real pressures of duty-bound societies where personal desire is suppressed for family expectation. These aren't separate modern problems. They are the costs of each system paid out at civilizational scale, exactly as both epics warned 3,000 years ago. Neither epic says its own answer is free. Achilles gets his glory, and a short life, and a death that haunts him even in the underworld. Arjuna fulfills his Dharma and has to live with what that duty cost him. Part 6. Resolution/direct address. So which one are you living by right now? Are you making your decisions based on what will be remembered? What will look impressive? What will separate you as exceptional? Or are you making them based on your duty to the people and roles you didn't choose? Your family, your community, the position you were born into or grew into? Neither answer is correct. That's the actual lesson buried in these two epics, and it's the one modern takes usually miss. Homer doesn't say Achilles was wrong. The Gita doesn't say Arjuna's grief was weakness. They just show you in unbearable detail exactly what each choice costs. 3,000 years later, you're still choosing. You just didn't know the myth had a name for it. If this reframes something for you, that's the whole point of this channel. Pulling the invisible architecture out of the stories everyone thinks they already know. Subscribe if you want the next one.